now we are going to be joined by Sesan Okunade. He is a public affairs analyst. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Vivian. Good morning, Sarah. Good morning to all our listeners across the globe. Glad to be here this morning.
Thank you for joining us, Sesan.
Thank you so much for joining us. So we took a look at this headline on the front page of the Daily Trust, and Sarah raised lots of valid points. I'd love to run that by you. Nigerians paid 1.04 billion naira ransom to kidnappers in 1 year. That's a report done by the Daily Trust. Now, one of the writer is from the AIG, former AIG, who said credible intelligence lacking. Sarah now asked, so these payments, this ransom paying and taking, can it not be traced by the intelligence to these terrorists? But let me not put words in your mouth. What's your take on this story?
Well, thank you very much, Vivian. It's a valid question raised by Sarah on the issue of we having valid intelligence gathering on some of those things. Don't forget we have certain parameters being set by the government, which identify individuals when it comes to financial transactions. We've had the issue of BVN, we've had the issue of NIN, and some other things to track activities. Of how money are being withdrawn and how they are being paid to individual. Let's even say peradventure those money are not paid into individual's account. But when somebody made suspicious withdrawal, you need to raise alarm and ask questions what those things are actually meant for. You discover that some of us have said it, and you heard Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala saying that the politicians are actually weaponizing this insecurity of the thing.
Yes.
What we lack when it comes to this problem is the political will on the part of our leaders, because certain set of people are actually benefiting from it. If you go way back, you discover that during the electionary campaign, there seems to be a little calm with the gathering of so many people across the state, and you never heard of any of the politician or their followers being kidnapped at that point in time. Or you ask yourself, after the conclusion of the election, what suddenly happened that it becomes, a reoccurring decimal that we wake up every day to now hear that this person is being kidnapped, and you hear of so much numbers. You heard about the kidnapping of over 200 people the last time, and you ask, if in front of your office 100 people march, just let's use the spiritual connotation where you have evangelism. If 100 people gather to move on your street, you will definitely know that something strange is happening. So how can you have over 200 people being moved from a community and nobody is able to nip it by the bud? I think the major problem we are faced with here is that certain people who are meant to actually check activities are not doing what is needful. And there are no consequences for wrongdoing. We've had a situation where the security agency will speak to us that some of these guys that are perpetrating this ill, you are able to release the captives. But where are the captors? What happened to them? We've not had, anyone saying that we've been able to apprehend this, we've been able to punish this, we've been able to kill this, even though some of my legal friends will say, Sesan, you are not a lawyer, this is a democracy, capital punishment cannot be offered to them. But I feel we can go the issues way, because what that does is that it will serve as deterrent to others who is actually considering. You see, they've made this a business venture, and it's quite alarming because it's affecting the daily business. People travel far and wide to carry out business. We are interdependent on one another. You can go to the east to do your business, to the north, and it's not everybody that wants to fly. You just want to go via the road so that you can connect from one state to the other and carry out your business. But that is really not happening because of the level of insecurity. Even, you see, people like me, I enjoy traveling at night, years back. But I dare not even try to during the day. People will ask you, are you on a suicide mission that you just want to, just get yourself off the road? So I think government needs to be intentional. We need to just look through some of the problems that we are faced with. Let's even bring to justice some of those that we have actually picked up to be perpetrator of some of this evil, and not just shading very few people that will feel that they've not done anything. The might that we put behind criminals that will pick on the road, can we put it on people that we consider to be bandits and terrorists, that we actually take away some of? You can imagine the humongous money that you've just said,
1.04 billion. Yeah, but let me interrupt you for a bit, Okunade. Let me interrupt you for a bit. You mentioned that let them actually catch some of these people. I recall that there have been times where they've said, oh, some persons have been apprehended, and then we started to have conversation around repentant terrorists. He said some of them were repentant and they reintegrated them into the system. I have two questions for you. So far, that has not turned out very great. What is your perspective on reintegrating these repentant bandit, terrorists, kidnappers, what have you, and the conversation surrounding ransom? Do you actually think that is the way to go? Because sometimes people pay ransom and their loved ones, they don't actually get them back. They actually kill them sometimes, or they just don't hear from them. Those are my two questions. What is your perspective on reintegrating these repentant kidnappers or terrorists back into the system? And what's your perspective on ransom, paying ransom as a whole?
Yeah, thank you very much, Sarah. Let me start from the real issue that has to do with ransom payment. Let me just say that we don't fall victim of this act. If you hear any of anyone with their loved ones being kidnapped, you don't mind the length at which you need to go to get them out, even when you're fighting. You become devastated when they put a call through to you. You try everything within your reach because they will tell you that blood is thicker than water. Absolutely. You just want them out at all costs, whatever it will be. We've seen instances where people will say, the security people, please don't interfere. We'll manage the situation ourselves, because we feel that when you interject with the threat issued out by those people, they might kill our loved ones. But we can look for a way to raise the money, because you just want them around you, and you just don't want to stay. So that's why I feel that this issue of ransom being paid is because of the love we have for one another, and the devastating position that you put yourself when you hear that your loved ones are actually being attacked or being kidnapped is what pushed us to that.
But isn't that enabling them? Isn't that some sort of enablement for the kidnappers, one way or the other, because they feel like they would eventually pay?
Well, for those of us who are not in their shoe, we might consider it as an enabler. For those in the shoe, is a way out for them to get their loved one back to themselves. And that's why we feel that if the security agency are actually out there, we should be proactive to even curb the menace from happening, not happening and looking. I can tell you this. You look at the perspective of ransom being paid. Do you know the psychological trauma that you made that captor, the captive, to undergo at that particular time? That's why when they bring back some of these young ones that are actually being, in captive, you have to go through psychological treatment in such a way to reintegrate. And you've seen some of them come up to say they don't even mind to go back to where you think that they should come out from, because of certain things that they enjoy in that area. They don't see themselves as being captive. Rather, they see themselves having fun and enjoying themselves. They're not far away from where they are supposed to be. So I think it's the position of the family, or the people that their family are actually being, kidnapped. They just want everything all out to get them out. It's not, they are not enabling them. If the security agency are proactive to make sure that we nip those things at the bud, I think it will not be something that will be discussing. On the area of reintegrating back the repentant terrorists, it's quite interesting. Sarah, I'm sure you know my position on this. I've never been an advocate of people reintegrating back. You see, I always tell individuals, forgiveness is of the Lord and not of human. When you have killed by the sword, you should go by the sword. These people have actually been indoctrinated into some of these acts, and that's what they do. You see, when you reintegrate them back into the system, they weaponize them by making them to be informants to those that are actually still perpetrating that act. You see, if you are in a particular business and they even pull you out of it. You still have the techniques, you have the skill, because you've actually been trained. These are not people that are actually taken into that place for 1 day or for 2 days. They've been there for years, and all of a sudden, it's just a strategy on their part, if you ask me, to say, let's release some of our people out and let them be informant that will get us some of those things. It's just like you saying that somebody who is in the ends of this act of drugs, and you say suddenly say he's no longer taking drugs. He has taken it. You know how it looks like. He can always give information to the people that are actually taking it and guide them to say, see, we are outside. We can hear what people are saying. Watch out. So, and information is very fundamental. And that's why some of us feel that these people are being emboldened because they now have their own amidst the community, amidst the society, who give them information about individuals that are actually being kidnapped this day. And that's why people like me have said, if these people allude to the fact that they've perpetrated this act, rather than saying they've repented, let them go and have their judgment before God. It is just give capital punishment. When you reduce the number, what that does, when people come out and say this is democracy, but somebody is owning up to say, I have perpetrated this act, I'm repenting. That's enough commitment to say, I have done it. You who kill by the sword should go by the sword. When you do that, what you have done is that you have reduced the number of people that are actually carrying out that act, and it sends signal to those that might be considering that to say, if I'm actually being killed, does it worth it for me to lose my life at this early age? Because you discover that they recruit younger generation, 13, 15, 18, indoctrinate them into this act to say, if you're able to do this, this is what you gain. And after 4 or 5 years, they say, okay, now that you are a full-fledged, don't let me use the cadre that we have in the military. You are a full-fledged man that understands our operation. Let's just use the gimmick to say you are now a repentant person, somebody who understands how to carry gun, somebody who knows how to actually manipulate people, and you are saying he suddenly repented. Let God confirm that. By the time you send him to God, he can actually confirm whether he has repented or not. And that will reduce the number of those people that we have in the environment perpetrating this ill. You see, when this thing started, it looked small. But now it has grown to the level that it's becoming something that is difficult for us to manage. But we will now look at it as something we just have to live with. It shouldn't be. And absolutely there must be decisive decision on the part of the government on that.
All right. I think this is a well-flogged issue. We've really talked about it. It's well-rounded. So let's switch some gears here. There's this other story, too, on the front page of the Daily Trust. It says, FG slams no work, no pay policy on resident doctors who are threatening to go on strike. Now, this is a recurring issue. Resident doctors go on strike. The federal government slams them with a threat. What's your take on this, though?
Sincerely speaking, when it comes to strike and federal government, I always ask myself, how did we get here? There are certain things the federal government makes as commitment to some of these medical practitioners. You and I are part of it. And I ask, when you sign a document, when you sign an agreement, it's based on trust. A lot of them return back to work because they have trust and confidence in the government. But when it comes to implementation, you discover that the whole sum of what you are committed to, you might just see them doing like 20%, 30%, and say we are working on others for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and the likes. And it doesn't speak well. I think everyone deserves that respect from the government. If you are not going to actually abide by the agreement, you know, there's a way you can make them understand the reason why those things are actually why those things cannot be fulfilled, and not just endorsing those things, and at the middle of the game you revert back that those things are not achievable. You expect them to actually revert back, and the only language I think the workers have seen government listen to is when they go on strike. So I want to say that it's not something that is welcome, because it is the common man that will suffer it. You see, currently as we speak, Even health is unaffordable to common man.
Absolutely.
You see, it has turned to be a prayer point that you don't even fall sick.
Yeah.
If you have ordinary flu, I know what it cost the last time that I had that. I asked myself, is it beyond this small flu that you're talking about? The cost of drugs has skyrocketed to where it is. Even for you to have access to a medical practitioner that will give you the right thing. You can see one of your headlines that you're reading of a medical doctor that actually administer one thing on his client, and today it's no more. So you can see if you are in the hands of wrong person who doesn't understand the dynamics of the profession, because we know we have quacks who actually feel that they have little understanding of this and they are out there ravaging. And this at the period they lashed on the opportunity to actually exonerate, kill people, if you allow me to use that word. Because when somebody who is not trained is actually promoting himself as someone who has the understanding, is killing. I just feel that the federal government needs to, abide by their commitment. When you sign something, those days when we're in the financial institution, you say you are putting your blood. Well, you can't deny your blood when you put your signature. It's a commitment that we both sat down to agree to this and we executed. Enough of we changing goalposts at the middle of the game when these people have actually given them. Because I know it will now resort to blackmail on the part of the citizen to say, workers, at least they promise you 10. They've done 3 now. Why don't you don't have human feeling? Do we have feelings for them? They too, they have families, they have certain things. And I don't think what they are requesting for is out of scope as committed to by the federal government.
Right, very, very true. Safe place to land. Just before we wrap it up with you this morning, would like to tap from your wealth of knowledge as an economic expert now. Exploitative pricing. Federal government gives traders 1 month notice to crash prices. This is coming from the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Agency, giving traders and other stakeholders involved in exploitative pricing to crash the prices of their goods. We know that in recent times, the price of goods and commodities has skyrocketed a lot. But this notice coming, I'd like to get your thoughts on this and how this can be achieved from your economic angle.
Thank you very much, Sarah. The first question I ask is where is the price control agency of the government to even monitor the activity? I remember in Lagos, the state aspect of it at the time, go to the market, to the mall, enforce the aspect of saying you need to tag those prices because you discover that you buy something today, tomorrow you get it. It's when you get to the paying point. They would have even charged you. I remember a few months back, I did that in the public domain to say I got a particular thing for like 4,000 naira, and I was there like 3 weeks back, and I was thinking in the same price. I was on an interview on my phone, so the lady was just capturing everything. I did not even check. All I did was to give her my card, and I was caught a bit with like, why are you charging me this? And I looked at it, what I bought for 4,000, because there was no price tag. I saw it for 12,500, and I'm like, wow. And I got 2 of that particular thing. If I've known now, I didn't even check. Don't until when I started looking at those things, and I came to the public domain to say, can we have some of these more so that you can see the price before you actually pick some of those things and they spring into action. You see, this order by federal government, you can control things that you invest in. Like I saw Lagos State coming up to say they are reinstating the 25% discount on the Onje Co. It's because they have input into it. What is the government input in some of these goods and services we're talking about? And every businessman will sell what he's buying, even though we know certain set of people are exploiting. But the truth remains that the agency must be up and running to actually have control over what is actually being priced. But the government needs to go extra mile because the foreign exchange, we are not producing anything locally. A lot of our products are actually being imported. And you cannot just stand by the foreign exchange cost, as we speak. It's on the other side. And it is, if you see an average businessman, they will tell you it's what they buy that they are selling. You need to just see what the import duty is all about. We've had government come to talk about the issue of removing import duty on food consumption. I've asked, why are we importing food when we can work on security? our insecurity, to make sure that we produce those things locally and release the burden. Because when you are importing those foods, it is foreign exchange that you're actually putting pressure on. Those that need it, these are things that you can produce domestically, but you have actually opened the shop to bring in some of those food as a relief measure. And it's already putting pressure on foreign exchange. Those that actually need it for other areas are not having access to it because you are concentrating on bringing food. So I feel an area I need the government to actually address is how do we actually increase our agricultural produce by doing mechanized farming. We have vast land. We have vast area. How can we take some of the people that we are actually considering as inmates, take them to the farmland, make use of them? These are what are obtainable in in Asian country. They don't just keep people and they feed on you on daily basis. You use them, you make use of them to be productive. Take them to the farm, have mechanized farming, use them productively to contribute to the bottom line of the economy. And with that, we can grow our economy, not them just eating so much large on you. I think that is the route to go. For me, forcing people to crash the price when you don't have a contribution to the bringing down of the prices will not work. The FCCP can go the route of monitoring some of those, but you can only do that to the more. How about the people in the open market? How much of it can you control? Yep. So these are areas I feel that we just need to work with. And if the government is decisive in some of the things that they are doing, I think we'll be better for it as a nation.
All right. Thank you so much, Sesan Okunade. Very, very insightful conversation there, I must say. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us this morning on some of the headlines. Thank you.
It's always a good time to start the weekend with the two beautiful ladies in the studio. And I can always just wish you a very wonderful weekend to you and to all our viewers.
Thank you so much. We wish you the very same. Thank you.